So I've been hankering to make a fancy tart lately. No, not that kind of tart. We're going to be making a strawberry and rhubarb tart, and this is my own creation as well, with a few different elements from different things. So we're going to be having ourselves a sweet pastry, then a frangipane base, but it's not a bakewell. Then we're going to do a strawberry and rhubarb jam to go on top of that. Then we're going to take some of that jam, fold it up with some whipped cream, layer that bad boy on top, and then in addition we're going to lay down some beautiful strawberries with a little bit of glaze just to glisten it up to finish up that tart. So hope you guys and gals are going to enjoy it. So we're going to start making the jam first, which is super important as we need to let it cool down. So I've got ourselves some nice beautiful fresh rhubarb here. So I've got about 400 grams or 14 ounces. And we've also got some fresh strawberries here, which is about a pound and 454 grams. So we're going to give this a wash now. And then we're just going to carefully just take the tops off, and then we're going to cut these into quarters and then straight into a large pan. And then the same with the rhubarb as well, so cutting it down into small chunks. So once all your Really? Come on. So once your strawberries and rhubarb are all diced up, we're going to start adding some sugar to it. 4 cups or 200 grams of fine granulated sugar or caster sugar. Also, we're going to need half a lemon juice as well, which will help activate the pectin and help that get that nice, beautiful thickness. So pop this onto the stove, onto a medium heat, and we're going to give this a little mix around, and we're going to cook this down for about 40 minutes until you get that nice, thick jam consistency. Also, keep an eye on it, make sure it's not burning, give it a stir here and again occasionally. So while that jam is cooking down, we're going to preheat the oven to 350 Fahrenheit or 180 Celsius, whichever you're using. So let's do that now. So we're going to need a 22 centimeter or an 8.6 inch tart. Tart mold. And we're going to need to butter and flour this bad boy up. So super important as well when you're flouring it, just to give it a excess tap and you'll get a nice light coating on there. And also you might be thinking, oh, what are we going to do with all this mess? Actually keep it. We can use this for the pastry when we're rolling that out later on. So we're going to need 75 grams of unsalted butter or 1/3 of a cup, cut down into small little cubes. Also, we're going to need 150 grams of all-purpose flour or plain flour. And if you want that in cups, it's 0.63 cups. I know, I'm terrible with cups, but what do you expect? I'm a British chap. In addition, we want 50 grams or half a cup of powdered sugar or icing sugar. So get your hands in there and break down that butter, incorporating it into the flour and the icing sugar, just breaking it down with your thumb and index finger. So once it's all incorporated, you're going to need one of these. Well, technically the yolk, but still. In goes the yolk. So give that a little mix up until it binds together. Also, if you have any issues and it's not binding together, you can always add a little touch of milk as well to help bind it. So mine's not quite bound together, so we're going to add about a tablespoon or 2 of milk to help bind it. But just be careful you don't add too much, otherwise you're going to end up with some sloppy results. So my sweet pastry only needed about a teaspoon of milk, so careful you don't go too crazy with that. And as you can see, it's ready to go. It's quite soft, so because it's quite warm in my kitchen today, we're actually going to rest this. I don't usually rest it if it's quite cold in the winter time, but rest it for about 10-15 minutes. We're going to cling film this up and pop it in the fridge. So it's finally firmed up. I'm going to roll this out, obviously dusting our work surface with some flour as well. So this will be very, very delicate to roll, and you've just got to be super, super patient when it comes to it. So if it does crack, be patient, keep nice cool hands. Especially in the summer, it's very hard to do pastry unless you've got a cool kitchen. So we're going to carefully wrap the pastry up in the rolling pin, and then grab in our cold tin, and obviously pick the rolling pin up from the side, not the handles, otherwise it's going to spin off. So grab it from the inside, and then just gently unravel it over the top. So now a super important part, which you need to kind of be a bit more quick about, is to make sure you lift up the sides and then just tuck in the pastry. If you just tuck it in, you could tear the pastry. So just make sure you lift up the sides and tuck it in. So making sure you get in all those little nooks and crannies and all those little holes or air pockets, so it's all nice and flat, it's all been molded round very nicely. So what we're gonna do is just very carefully roll the rolling pin over the top, just to kind of cut it as this pastry is nice and soft. And then you should have a little bit of pastry left over. And if you want to use this up, if you've got some smaller tins, you can obviously line these and make a little bit more if you want to. So what you want to do, once that's ready, you want to pop that in the freezer for about 10 minutes, just to really firm up that pastry before we start cooking it. So your jam should be about ready now, so it's time to take it off. So what we're going to do, pour the jam straight into the sieve, just so we can get rid of that excess moisture, and we want to be left with that thick, thick jam. And don't worry, you might be thinking, are you going to get rid of this liquid? We're actually going to use it for the syrup later on, so make sure you keep it as well. So this is all chilled, ready to go in the oven now. You can use the traditional method of baking beans. I usually like to poke holes in the bottom and stop it from rising, but there's another method I want to try, which is with the tin foil. So we're going to give that a bash today to see how that turns out. So you want to grab yourself a sheet of tin foil and you just want to carefully mold it on the inside of that tart without damaging it. So once it's molded nicely, we're going to pop it onto a tray just in case there's any butter leaks, and then we're going to pop this in the oven for about 10 to 15 minutes. So that tart has come out an absolute treat. So we're going to quickly egg wash this and pop this back in just to give it a nice little glaze to go on top for about 2 minutes. So that's sealed a treat, and we're going to set this aside to cool down. So it's time to start making the base of the tart, which is going to be the Frangipane mix. So before we do this or anything else, turn your oven down to 160 Celsius or 320 Fahrenheit. So to start off, we're going to need 100 grams of soft butter, which is about 7 tablespoons. And if you want that in cups, it's 0.4 cups. In addition, you want 100 grams of fine granulated sugar or caster sugar, which is about 1 cup. In addition, you want 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract and 1 teaspoon of almond extract. So put this onto a low speed and start mixing the sugar and the butter together, or shall we say cream them together. So once they've creamed themselves together, don't even say a word, I know what you're gonna say. So once the butter and the sugar have whipped together, we're gonna add 1 whole egg. So once that's incorporated and it's looking like scrambled eggs, yes, it's supposed to look like scrambled eggs, don't worry. We're gonna add 100 grams of ground almonds or 1 cup. Also not forgetting that little pinch of salt in there as well. And then your Frangipane mix should be looking a nice, smooth, glossy mixture. So we're gonna pop this into a piping bag with a thick piping nozzle. So grab yourself a cup or tall container, because this will help you, instead of holding it with one hand and juggling, you have 2 hands free. So your Frangipane mix should be good to go. And then what you wanna do is just carefully pipe a nice swirl all the way round the entire tart. So that should fill your tart nice and evenly. So grab yourself a cranked spatula and then just smooth it over again, just once more. So once that's good to go, pop that in the oven for about 15 to 20 minutes. So while the Frangipane is cooking, we're gonna actually make the stock glaze, so we can use some of the syrup in here to make it. Also, if you're wondering what this is here, toothpick, just to hold it in place so the sieve doesn't fall into the bowl. Gotta think about these things. Now, I wanted to make a syrup, but to be honest with you, this is already glazing really nicely. We don't actually need to do anything to this. So this is actually thick enough, more than I expected, which is great. So if you want to make a stock syrup, you can do instead of using this, but this will be absolutely fine, so we don't need to make one. Happy days. So the Frangipane is done, and it took a little bit longer, so 20 to 30 minutes until it's nice and golden. And also, if you want to help push it down halfway through, just grab yourself a little spatula and just kind of push it down halfway through the cooking as well. So we don't want it to be risen really, really high, because we want a few more layers in there. But that's looking fantastic. We're gonna let that cool down for about half an hour. So while that's cooling down, we're actually gonna make the cream next. So we're gonna need 1 cup of heavy whipping cream or double cream, or 250 ml. Also, we need 20 grams, which is about 3 tablespoons of powdered sugar or icing sugar. And then we're just gonna whip this up until peak. And just be careful you don't whisk too vigorously. Yeah, I know. So grab some of that rhubarb and strawberry jam and just drop a little bit going into that cream. And then you just wanna fold it just a couple of times. You don't want it totally incorporated in, just so you get a nice little swirl effect. So it's looking something like this. So we're gonna pop this into a piping bag now with a nice thick nozzle. So that's good to go. So we're gonna pop that in the fridge to keep it chilled. So the tart is finally cooled down, and we're gonna put a little bit of the rhubarb and strawberry jam over the top, a nice little thin layer. And then we're gonna just carefully pipe the strawberry and rhubarb cream. And then just carefully spread it with that crank spatula to smoothen it out. So next we need to slice the strawberry. So we're gonna pop this in the fridge just to keep chilling. So we've got another pound of strawberries here. We're just gonna give them a wash and then we're gonna slice them down. So all you're gonna need to do is just carefully take the tops off without taking too much of the strawberry. And then what you wanna do is just slice them into nice little thin slices, ready to go on top of our beautiful tart. So once the strawberries are sliced, it's time to start assembling that top. So very carefully, start doing a nice little swirl, overlapping the strawberries all the way around, very neat and carefully, until you end up with something like this. Look at that, beautiful. And we're just gonna finish this off very nicely with the strawberry glaze as well. We got that beautiful perfect syrup, and what we wanna do is just give that a nice little gloss and glaze just over the strawberries very carefully. And there we go. Look at that beautiful glaze on there. Turned out fantastic. So let's turn this out onto a plate now very carefully. So the bottom should just come straight off, like so. That great pastry. Goodness me. And then the tart should just nicely slide straight off. Like so. So I'm just giving you a little close-up of that tart. And look at that, goodness me. So I think it's time to do a little bit of a cross-section here. So let's cut this in half and take a little slice, shall we? So we're just gonna carefully cut this straight in half without damaging too much of the top. So here we go. Oh my goodness me. Look at that beautiful cross-section right there. So there it is, that cross-section of that rhubarb and strawberry tart. The beautiful sweet pastry, the frangipane, the jam, so the strawberries and rhubarb jam, and then a little bit of that jam mixed up with the cream and the strawberries on top. Beautiful. So we're just gonna carefully take a little slice of this, nothing too crazy, and we're gonna give it a little try, shall we? So this is definitely gonna have to be a fork job. Don't say anything. Oh my goodness me. That is absolutely magnificent. You got that beautiful almond on the bottom, the crisp, thin pastry, the fresh strawberries, the rhubarb, the light cream. Oh my goodness me. Give this a bash, amigos, you won't be disappointed. So that's it for this week, amigos. I hope you've enjoyed the strawberry and rhubarb summer tart. Oh my goodness me, it's such a delight, it really is. Feel free to try this out. The list of ingredients will be below in the description box, so feel free to go check that out. Also, next week I won't be here as it's my birthday. I will be live streaming on Twitch though on a Monday, but the following Monday we'll be back as always with the normal schedule. Also, if you would like to like the video and subscribe to the channel, always appreciated. In addition, if you want to check me out on Twitch, I'll be there Tuesday to Friday, 10 AM Mountain Time as always. But until then, amigos, stay safe, healthy, and awesome.